Hi, everybody. Willie's here, and he wants to be a part of our story today. I think Willie's going to really miss all of us, don't you? Don't you think he's going to miss us all when we're all back to school? That's okay, Willie, because actually you're just going to get to do like your favorite thing, really, and that's just to sleep. You just get to sleep all the time. Would you like, see? Good timing. Would you like to hear the story? Chapter 10. Oh, I think that's a yes. I'm going to read chapter 10 of Elmer and the Dragon. This is the last chapter in this book, and then tomorrow you will hear chapter 1 in The Dragons of Blue Land. So here we have chapter 10. Look at the title. Elmer Flies Home. And here is an illustration of that very thing. Pretty awesome. Here we go. Chapter 10. They flew and flew, the dragon trying hard not to look at or think about the wet, wet ocean. Elmer sat watching their shadow rippling over the waves beneath them, feeling washed by the cool morning breeze. The dragon was strong and felt well rested, being nicely stuffed with skunk cabbages and ostrich ferns, and they hadn't stopped once when he shouted towards the evening, "I think I see land ahead." "So do I, and I think it's the coast of Popsicornia," yelled Elmer. "Yes, I'm sure it is. There's Firefly Lighthouse. It won't be long now. It's just a few miles up the coast from here." "Where shall I land when we get there?" asked the dragon. "Now that I'm free, I should hate to be put in a zoo or a circus or something." Well, it'll be dark soon. I think you could land on a wharf. Remember, a wharf is like a great big dock. I think you could land on a wharf without attracting attention. Of course, we'll have to be quiet. They flew up the coast, passing the lighthouse and the village of Fruitoria and the town of Custard, and finally came to the outskirts of Nevergreen City. "There it is!" cried Elmer. "See, that dark patch is Evergreen Park. I live just across the street. Could you land on that long wharf just ahead?" "I think so," said the dragon, "but I do hope nobody sees me." He circled lower and lower and gently landed on the end of the wharf. Elmer slid off and whispered, "Gosh, it was so fun knowing you. I'm going to miss you and flying and everything. And thanks so much for bringing me home." "It was fun, wasn't it?" sniffled the dragon. "And I'll never forget how you came all the way to Wild Island just to rescue me. By the way, Elmer, I really think you ought to have this beautiful gold watch and chain. I can't see it on me anyway. I don't even know how to tell time." "Are you sure? I could give it to my mother, but haven't I got something you'd like to trade it for?" "Well, as a matter of fact, I was wondering if you still had some of those delicious pink lollipops." "I have 4 left over," said Elmer, getting them out and taking off the wrappers. "Would you like all 4 at once?" "Yes," said the dragon. They stood there quietly in the dark, the dragon sucking 4 pink lollipops, and Elmer whispered, "Where will you go from here?" "I'll go to find my family in the great high mountains of Blue Land," said the dragon, thinking of his 6 sisters and 7 brothers and his gigantic mother and father. Did you hear that? I think I need to read that sentence again. "I'll go to find my family in the great high mountains of Blue Land," said the dragon, thinking of his 6 sisters and 7 brothers, and his gigantic mother and father. "I'd like to go there too someday," said Elmer. "Well, maybe you will. But listen, I hear voices. Men coming down the wharf. Quick, you'd better hurry. Goodbye, dear dragon." The dragon flew up into the darkness just as 2 watchmen thumped by to make their rounds. Elmer hid behind a crate and heard one say, "Funny, I was sure I heard voices,
And I know I heard something big flying just over our heads.
Look for lollipop wrappers, said the other watchman, who had been searching the wharf with a lantern. And here they are, by the way. Oops, wrong picture. That's the picture I wanted to show you. The watchman finding things that looked suspicious. Said the first watchman, and then they walked back down the wharf. Elmer followed them at a distance, and while they were telling the other watchmen about the lollipop wrappers, he ran as fast as he could through the streets, through Evergreen Park, and now here's the other picture before I turn the page. There he goes, flying off, and Elmer's already hiding behind the crate so the watchmen don't see him. All right, through the streets, through Evergreen Park, all the way home. Now just think, he's been gone for days, right? Can you imagine if that were you? It'd be all over the news in the state of Minnesota, all over the United States, maybe. He leaped up the porch steps, he leaped up the porch steps 3 at a time, yelling, "Mother, Daddy, I'm home! Happy birthday!" Mr. and Mrs. Elevator rushed to the door and threw their arms around Elmer. "Oh, Elmer, how glad we are to see you. You don't know how worried we've been these past 2 weeks. Where on earth did you go?" "I had an important job to do," said Elmer, staring at the living room sofa. "Why, there's my friend the old alley cat." "On the sofa?" "Yes," said Mrs. Elevator. "As much as I've always hated cats, I just didn't have the heart to turn her out. She came to the door the day after you left, and I kept thinking, Elmer loved this cat. I really ought to take good care of her. And you know, I've grown awfully fond of her in just 2 weeks." Elmer rushed over to the cat and whispered, "I rescued the dragon. I rescued the dragon. And he just flew me home. He was right where you told me he'd be." And here's a picture of him. Boy, now you can see it's old-fashioned, right? Does your mom dress like that on a typical evening, and your dad? I don't think so. So remember, he was whispering to the alley cat. He whispered, "He was right where he told me he'd be." "You did what?" asked Mr. Elevator. "Oh, nothing," said Elmer. "By the way, here's your birthday present." Elmer gave his father the 3 bags of gold and played Happy Birthday on the sterling silver harmonica. "And here's your beautiful gold watch and chain for you, Mother." "But wherever did you get these things?" gasped Mr. and Mrs. Elevator. "That's a secret I can never tell," said Elmer, rummaging in the icebox for something to eat. And now icebox is an old-fashioned word for refrigerator. They actually used to be like big kind of wooden boxes that they'd have to come and put ice in to keep it cold, but that's what that sentence means, right? The next 2 words are simply the end. Because remember, if you found that book in the library all by itself, it wouldn't be followed by the Dragons of Blue Land. You'd have to check the Dragons of Blue Land out separately. Here's the last illustration of Elmer and the Dragon. There they are in their fancy house with their fancy old-fashioned clothes. Okay, now when you respond to me, I want you to somehow respond with these thoughts, okay? You're going to answer this question. And I'm going to actually create this question as part of the Seesaw assignment. I want you to think. If you had been missing for 2 weeks, this is what I love about fiction. Fantasy fiction's so great. If you had been gone for 2 weeks, and you came home finally, and your parents had no idea where you were, and if they said, "Where have you been?" and if you just said, "It's a secret, I'm not going to tell you," and then if you suddenly gave your dad bags of gold and your mom a fancy gold watch on a chain, you know, it's not the kind of watch that I have, right? It's the kind that's on a chain. You know that already. Would your parents just be like, "Oh, okay, that's fine"? What do you think their reaction would be? Is it realistic? Maybe not. I want you to think in your real life, what would the reaction be if you just said, "Oh, that's a secret I'll never tell"? So I just want you to tell me your thoughts and enjoy this crazy fantasy fiction as much as I am, okay? All right, time is up for me. Tomorrow, Wednesday, you will be hearing chapter 1 of The Dragons of Blue Land. Can't wait. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to read your responses.